Welcome to the Scotty P podcast, man. I'm here today with a good friend of mine, Estilo. Man, we've connected before over like movement, and you used to be a breakdancer, and
Capoeira. Yes, sir.
You're essentially, would you consider yourself a black belt in Capoeira if they had belt systems?
Yeah, they have a belt system. I go by the old belt system by our federation, and it goes by the color of the Brazilian flags. So I would be, in terms of be like a second degree, I guess you can say.
Okay.
So each, like I got to my mastership there, my first degree, and then 10 years later of mastership, then I get my second. So I've been training since I was 3 years old.
Dang.
Yeah, and my father has been doing it since he was 12. So I learned from him. I learned it in Brazil. I competed in Brazil. I spent a lot of time in the US, and my dad also, we had the first academy in 1988 in the Maritimes in Canada back then. So I spent a lot of time with it, and breaking, I got into it when I was 17. I started in Canada, and then I developed it further in the US, mainly in the tri-state. So Philadelphia area, multiple areas in New Jersey and New York. But I also traveled through Europe, trained a lot in Brazil, and Toronto in Canada. I really defined my style when I was in Toronto in Canada. So that's like a short version of what I do.
Yeah. And so we just got done training at Jeff Messina's Dojo Revolution, Revolution Dojo at Katy. You got me in the gi. It was my
finally.
Yeah, I think it's been my first time in the gi since getting my black belt, so that's fun. I try to mix it up when I can.
There you go.
But it was good training with you. And one of the things I was really impressed with is, your overall like strength and capability, and then your movement, dude. And it's funny because I'm not to joke on you right now, but you're in your like 40s. Are you 40?
42.
42, dude.
In June, 42.
Dude, you got abs, dude. You take care of yourself. You're a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu. And man, I feel like that's like lost these days, where it's like, dude, guys get to like 35 and then they're showing me pictures of when they were 26. And they're like,
what I used to do, what I used to be.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, man.
We're not even halfway, dog.
I know.
What do you mean?
It's like, no, man, we still got it, man. You know what I'm saying?
And then here you are, dude. You're on Instagram. You're doing freaking, so you said you're a breakdancer, dude. You can do like one handstand spinning. And you showed me a little bit after training.
Yeah, we were talking about like techniques and everything, like what I do to pretty much maintain my body. I spent a lot of time like stretching, obviously, but I stay mobile. I train frequently. I will train Monday to Fridays, about 3 days a week. I will do twice, but I try to keep the mobility, man. That's what I came from, and what I came to understand, like my age right now after doing it for so long, because the wear and tear from breaking and capoeira is that always, fundamentals, cliched as that sounds, but the fundamentals, man. And I try to stick with movement as long as I can move my spine frequently, use my knees like good, and like squat and lunges, like all that kind of stuff, and then also strength condition. You know what I mean? But I think stretching and the mobility. I think the older you get, you got to be mobile, man. And for me, for my benefit, since I'm used to like flying around and that stuff, dude, I'll take time and I'll go to a soccer field, and it can be 90 degrees, 100-degree weather, man. And I'll be over there for 25 minutes and I'll be capoeira, and then I'll be flipping over and over and over, just so it can keep my senses going. I think that's what helps me when I roll. Like just the mechanics, like where my body's going to be, and just feeling. It's a lot of feeling. When I started Jiu-Jitsu, it was like that. It was, okay, let me not introduce capoeira, let me not do breaking. Let me do Jiu-Jitsu, let me learn the positions, let me do this. I don't want to try and fuse everything, So that was more like a head start for me, I felt, instead of like, let me just try to use my athleticism and move around.
Right.
It was natural, but like, I try to suppress it a little bit.
Yeah, no, you have to. Like when I try to do MMA, I just want to take it to the ground. Be like, man, as soon as they hit me hard, I'm getting your ass to the ground. But no, you have to tell yourself, like, I'm not taking it to the ground. I'm going to figure out just the striking aspect. And, but no, so we finished training at Jeff's, and then you told me about this acai spot that had the owner trained jiu-jitsu here.
Yes.
And so now we're here at this acai spot.
Yes, sir.
It's right above us, acai Brazil.
Acai bowl.
And that's what I'm munching on right here. I got this crazy dope bowl. You guys can't see it, but he's got his too. He might be too nervous to eat his, but yeah, these things are awesome. And the owner's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. So man, it's sick.
Yeah, he allowed us to be here. Pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
It's a good spot. Definitely check it out.
Especially right after training.
Oh yeah.
You can't beat acai after training.
Yeah, man. Very, typical jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, right. And y'all are speaking Portuguese as soon as he walked in, which is gangsta. I got to learn one day.
Yeah, if you do jiu-jitsu, try to learn a little bit of Portuguese. It helps.
Yeah.
You'll probably do better in competition too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You seen that one with Rene Sosa? Or it was like, he did like this little cut up of him competing at IBJJF, and it's like how he wins. It changes how he says his name. He's like, if you're an American, Rene Sosa. And then it was like, if you're half, it's like, Rene Sosa. He just kept getting more Brazilian, and he kept like his points got higher and higher.
Oh, yeah.
It's too funny. But yeah, man, so yeah, with the Capoeira and the breakdancing. So the two main guys that really made that popular in the jiu-jitsu community was like Boogeyman and
Gio Martinez.
Gio. We had Boogeyman out for a seminar.
Oh,
so we're really close with them and their whole group. I follow them on Instagram. Every time I see them, I give them a hug.
Yeah, those guys are dope, man.
Right. And their famous story is that they came from breakdancing. And it's like, it's such a weird combo, but when you really think about it, I mean, you guys are balancing one-handed on your hand, your entire weight is on your shoulder. And you were telling me too, is like, you got more injuries from doing breakdancing than you did in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. As you're demonstrating, you're essentially like rotating your whole body on the shoulder joint and then
jumping from one hand to the other, and that feet doesn't touch the ground, and keep going. Yeah,
dude, you're showing me, and I was like, yeah, I can't. No way.
He's like, let me not explain this. Let me just show you. Here, look. So when you do this movement, but man, those guys are phenomenal, man. They're very flexible. They have that flexible style, like b-boying. We say b-boying, right? Breaking, and man, those guys were a trip all the time. Like, they're really good, and I think that. The breaking culture, a lot of people are investing into jiu-jitsu now. There's some really good guys like coming up. And I think it helps because you're used to lifting your body all the time. Like I'm 150 pounds, 148 give or take from training a lot. And I'm constantly lifting it in different angles all the time, I think that goes like a long way.
As a smaller guy, it's a huge advantage for you.
Yeah.
Because the bigger guys are less inclined to really pick themselves up. Like one of the major things that is a disadvantage for me going against a smaller opponent is it takes nothing for you guys to pop up on your feet. It's like at any moment you're back to standing with more height than me and more gravity.
Yeah.
And so it's like that. I always have to train myself to not let you guys get on your feet. On me.
And it's crazy. Like when I'm on top, like I try to like pressure pass like a big guy, but I'm not. But it's from I like pinning. I like movement, but I like moving within jiu-jitsu a little bit, I think what helps too with the other art forms, I think once you understand the fundamental of whatever you're doing, be it capoeira, breaking, or jiu-jitsu, I think once you understand fundamentals, I think the other fundamentals from the other crafts will like seep in if you allow it, right? And that's where the creativity come in. A lot of people don't allow creativity like to just be used. Like I think that's why Gio and them, like they're very good because they're so creative.
Yeah.
And they can see different pathways. They see different patterns. They recognize it. And like one of the things I think, like dancers like that or gymnasts, anything like that, right? And if you're creative, you understand weight distribution early on, not just the athleticism, the balance, flexibility, but weight distribution. You'll find ways to like balance, because in breaking you're trying to find balance and not crash, right? So in jiu-jitsu is like you're trying to find balance and not get swept. So you know how to like boom, like you use your core correctly in the air, on your back, on your head, shoulder, whatever. So I think that's what translates really well. But even better when you understand the fundamentals in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, no, the creativity spot. part, that's really interesting to me because I was thinking more of like how you're developing the core strength, the shoulder strength, the leg and foot dexterity. I'm thinking more physically. And then you hit me with the creativity part, which is more abstract. And the reason you don't see creativity a lot in jiu-jitsu is because we're tunnel visioned into winning. Yeah. And it's hard to be creative when you're winning because you're more inclined to do the thing that works in the moment. And so winning actually prevents you from being creative. And that's why it takes like such a long time, because you have to you got to get good enough to where you can relax enough to be creative, right? That's kind of the first aspect of like I would say, you know, for most people, they don't really start becoming creative until they're like purple belt. And then you start becoming more creative on the white belts, right? And then, but as like a dancer, I mean, that's all you got is creativity.
Yeah,
really,
pretty much. Yeah, when you start off, so you can kind of use it. So you're like, it's interesting that like when someone is showing me like a technique, I love troubleshooting. That's why we were doing it after class. Like, let's just troubleshoot this position. I was like, hey man, I've been working on this little guard thing for entries and stuff. So I like taking one thing and seeing how many entries or exits I can do out of that. So if you want to take something basic, okay, I got an armbar. Everybody understands this, you know, closed guard, whatever, armbar, triangle. So let me try to do armbar even from positions that normally you wouldn't catch it. You know, let me just try it. Even if it's not going to work, but let me just try it. I just use up all the positions as much as you can and then move on to the next thing. So with breaking, like what we used to do is like you have your fundamental like steps and then you take a movement and you try to do that movement out of all those steps, right? And then you can make combinations out of it, in and out. And then you try to make it seamless. And then you can add another movement, and you got 3 things and 4 things. And then you can like subcategorize all these types of movement. You got spins, you got like traditional movements, your basic movements, and then you can combine them. And then you can pretty much call it upon like your head according to like what's in front of you through the scramble. I'm like, oh, it's time for this movement from this category. Oh, it's time for this. And it just comes in. I think guys like Marcelo, Mika, Hafa, they operate in that puzzle solving, like real time, real quick. I think that's what helps them a lot. They have that creativity thing just naturally embedded in their game, you know. And with Marcelo, like what I used to see when I was training there was that. I think, dude, it's one thing on video and it's one thing in person when you see it. You know, just the way the guy like is solving the issues like during the roll. Yeah. You know?
Well, so what we were talking about earlier is like, you're talking about how there's a lot of feeling. You're like in Capoeira and breaking. And Joshua Waitskin, who is a black belt under Marcelo Garcia, Tai Chi push hands champion, chess prodigy.
Search of Bobby Fischer, that guy,
And he talks about, I think one of the ways he describes it is like kinesthetic awareness, like your ability to understand the way that your body moves through space. Yes. And he compliments Marcelo as being one of the most profound guys. He said he can only catch him with something like one time, and then he could just understand.
A good example is when he was rolling with Braulio in New York.
Braulio,
yeah, you can see that happen when like Braulio will catch him, and then immediately right after Marcelo just like, and then just solves that problem. I'm like, wow, that's interesting how he does it.
And see, so like maybe a lot of people don't know, but you've also had you've seen like a lot of really good jiu-jitsu. You trained at Marcelo's, one of my good buddies, Rayhan, world-class black.
Oh yeah, Rayhan, Felipe, and those guys. Yeah, so I started there. So I started late. I was 32 when I started. And I'll remember when I started, man, I didn't want to do jiu-jitsu before. I've known about it for a long, long time. But I was afraid to start because I was doing shows at the time a lot with Capoeira and all that, and that's how I paid my bills. And I would teach Capoeira too and do a lot of that. So I didn't want to get hurt. And then once I was like, you know what? I'm a little injured right now. Let me start jiu-jitsu when I'm injured. So I did, man. And I already knew about Marcelo. I knew about Handsome, but Marcelo would teach like during the day and during the night too. And I just love the style too. And I remember starting, man. Oh, dude, it was something else. The entire room was loaded with people, and yeah, it was something else.
You started at like one of the best academies in the world.
Yeah, man, and all the
especially at the time.
Well, he had his brown belt dream team still, right, at the time before they got their black belt. I got to see them all get their black belts, like Matheus Diniz, Mark Shinoku. Johnny Gripple was already a black belt with the other guys too, like John Satava. He got his black belt there. yeah, it was cool, man. Just witnessing all that, and I got to do a class with Paul Schreiner. He's like that guy was yeah. He's very very smart jiu-jitsu man. Bernardo Faria too. He was there at the time, dude, it was right before BJ Fanatics. He was developing that. Yeah, it was cool to see all that happen. But yeah, I think I'm very thankful for it because I was establishing my photography career at the time there too. So they both like went together. You know, that was the time I had a crossroads of like the capoeira and the jiu-jitsu. I knew that all my life, right? And I kind of wanted to like retire from it and have a different career path, which was the photography. And that was my other passion from a long time. And when I got my first big job over there, it was right around when I got my purple belt. So I started at 14, I got my purple belt in 2017. And that's when I got my career really started with the fashion photography and some artists from Brazil. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. So jiu-jitsu kind of went a little bit on the back burner, and living in New York, man, I gotta make money. So
Yeah.
so it was a lot with the photography. I got into corporate stuff, and I traveled a lot with it. And I always eyed like Texas. I had an idea because I knew sports and MMA was growing a lot over here. And this was back in 2018, 19. So I was like, I think there's an opportunity here. And then when I came down, it was literally end of 2020, December 31st I got here. And then I was like, man, I didn't do jiu-jitsu for another year after COVID. So I was like 2 years out. But a buddy of mine in Austin, he told me about, he's also a b-boy, he's a black belt. Yeah, so I think it's a Crown Jiu-Jitsu in Austin.
Oh yeah.
Rudy?
I've actually trained there.
Yeah. He's a cool dude, man.
Yeah.
He's the one that told me about Jeff Messina, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
I literally trained there because Abraham, who trains at New Wave, he teaches no-gis on Thursday there.
Oh, right on.
Abraham Lamontagne.
Okay,
He's
yeah,
one of the savage guys coming up. He's a good friend of mine. We compete at a lot of the opens. So
Okay.
he teaches there on Thursdays. He invited me to come. So I met the owner of Crown. Oh, no. I'm thinking of Violet. But no, I've met
Violet Crown, yeah.
Oh, it is the same place. Yeah, Violet Crown.
Yeah. I got confused because Mateus Luchas in Long Island. Like,
Dude, Mateus Lutas is savage too.
dude, I had to train with that guy. I was like his practicing dummy when he probably won't even remember, but I was just like practicing dummy for when he was training for Worlds. He was still purple belt at the time.
Damn.
Him and Juan Alvarenga, man. I had to train with both of them back to back. I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that was fun, kind of. But yeah, it was good. It was good training. But yeah, Rudy told me about Jeff Messina. He's like, yo, man, I think you should check out Jeff. You know, he understands our, breaking culture, the hip hop, and he came from a skating background and everything. So I was like, oh, all right, cool. And I hit up Jeff and I was like, I want to come in. And it's like, hey, man, I haven't done jiu-jitsu for about 2 years. I've been in Texas for about a year now. I don't want to like just see different gyms. I heard a lot about you. I want to get to know you. So came in, met the people. Yeah, man, they're family to me. And it's the other home I found here. They kind of kept me in Houston. So yeah, man, Jeff has done a lot for me too.
Oh yeah. Well, it's interesting. One, it cracks me up. You said you got injured in capoeira before you made the transition to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And that's like so true for me. I'll be so tunnel vision on jiu-jitsu and training that I never experience anything else until I get hurt. Like I'll do breath work. Like now I'm in a breath work and yoga. It's almost always because I'll get hurt and then I'm like, I need to make the time to get some other way that I can get movement and healing done. And so it just cracks me up. It's like you have the same thing, but with capoeira. You weren't even willing to entertain the other idea.
Yep. So I came from I had a major groin injury in my shoulder. I impinged my shoulder, and then I had a wrist injury. My knee, I sprained my LCL.
So they're just naming them all.
Yeah, dude, the list goes on and on and on. The only one that I had in jiu-jitsu was like a little sprain on my MCL that took a little bit to recover. But for the most part, I could still train and do my thing. But like the mobility and all that kind of stuff. And if you do it just a little bit, still a little bit, you know, with the strength and conditioning, I think it goes a long way. You know, you can withstand a lot of stuff. Jiu-Jitsu it takes a lot out of you, man, especially if you're learning guard game and all that kind of stuff. And then if you're on your back, your shoulders are like, you're used to doing this. Like, I lost a lot of shoulder flexibility because of that, man. I was like, what happened? I was like, I can't even do this anymore. Now it's like, oh boy, trying to get that back is another work in process.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about how you like to stay young by keeping your spine moving and stuff, but it's like, it's when you stop doing these things that you get old.
Yeah.
Right. And so we were talking about how like a lot of people try to like out diet not moving around. Like, and it's just no way to do it. There's no way you can, unless you're going to be miserable all the time, you know? And, but yeah, essentially there's no way to out diet a sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah.
And if you, the reason we got onto this is because you weighed yourself and then I weighed myself.
And man.
I weighed myself and I was like thinking I'd be closer to like maybe like 226, 228. And I was like, man, it's going to be I'm going to have to cut down on the next 2 weeks. But I came in at 217.
Yeah, that was good.
And even though I haven't been like super crazy, like dialed in on I eat healthy, dude. If you see my plate, you're like, good. It's eggs.
Yeah, you don't look like you eat unhealthy at all, man. Like,
no,
you can tell.
I don't eat fast food. I eat fucking steak, avocado, eggs. Like
yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. Like I'll have a week where it's like a lot of steaks and a lot of greens and all that stuff, and I'll swap it up with like chicken and eggs and that kind of stuff. But man, I'll still eat like a pasta and pizza and whenever I can. But like I'll do jiu-jitsu, and like I said, the weekend I reserve it for the mobility every time, and it's constant. The day I stop moving is like I get more injured, man. Like it's ridiculous. The day I stopped doing like capoeira for a long time, and then my injuries start surfacing. I think my body's like so used to it. I've been doing since I was 3. So it's like, man, you gotta do something. You know what I mean? So I get back on it. You know, but eating well, obviously, I think is important.
Yeah, well, I think it's like, I try my best to do. I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I eat good, but I also eat. I'm a cookie monster.
Dude, you're in Houston, bro. Like, come on. There's so many places to eat here. Like that chicken and waffle. Oh, bro, come on. Man.
Food's too good, you know. And so it's like, I try to do moderation. I try to just not like, you know, eat fast food all day, every day. I just try to at least cook my meals.
Yep.
And then I enjoy a snack afterwards, you know?
So
like an 80-20. And then I'm always working out, always training. And I wouldn't even necessarily say that I'm killing myself every day. I'll probably only go hard maybe like 3 days out of the week.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Maybe 4. The rest of the days, I'm mostly just teaching. And maybe I'll roll with some white belts, but I'm not trying to kill them. I'm not. And mostly, when I was like training, I would say that maybe every day I'd go hard. But now that I'm more of a coach, I can't really afford to like do that every single day. So during the week when I'm mostly focused on coaching, there's just days where I won't get like super crazy hard workout in. And dude, I'm still 217, which is light for me. Yeah, I'm under my weight class. My weight class is 219.
Oh,
you know,
man.
I told myself I'm supposed to be bulking to 235, and I'm still under. I'm telling you, dude, I eat good. Dude, I eat until I'm stuffed. I never once like leave my plate clean. I'm not, or leave my plate with food on it. I clean it. I eat a cookie. I'm drinking 0 calories Sprite. You know, so
cookies are a mess, man. Cookies, oh man, I go crazy with cookies. But that's the thing, right? Like if you're training steady, right? And I assume you train at least a little bit every day. So I've been doing that too with I think it's just the older you get, man. When I was breaking, like coming up in the breaking world, like I would train a lot, man. I would be in the studio training just to get like one move and crashing all the time and just getting it. And
so crashing is like falling.
Falling, yeah. And it's like, oh man, dude, it's not fun, dude. You know, but like the capoeira too, I put a lot of hours in capoeira, man. And once you start like getting older, I think your body, I think you learn to identify that. You change how you train. Like right now, I focus a lot on my hips and my lower back and my back and like strengthening my quads and all that stuff, you know what I mean? So I can sustain a little bit more. The upper body, I already did as much as I can. Like I'm not trying to get crazy, but I'm not doing it to do that. But my mobility helps when I work out my legs and my lower back. As long as I can like open and get like flexibility, still maintain it, and I'm good. And I don't get injured as often with it.
Yeah, so how are your like ribs and your core structure? Do you find that, like, have you had a lot of rib injuries? Do you?
No, I had it one time. It wasn't like a bruised rib or anything. I don't know. I just had a little issue. That's from rolling with someone like 100 pounds bigger than me.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So that's the only reason. But other than that, not really. So when I do a lot of like the flying stuff and breaking the power moves, there's a lot of core conditioning too that I do. A lot of people in the breaking, like they won't condition themselves either. So it's not just like in jiu-jitsu, like you see this in the other stuff too, right?
Yeah, where they just want to do the
they just go in there and then just cold turkey and they trying to do moves. I'm like, bro, you can't even do like open your legs right. And you can't even like hold your legs while you're sitting on your butt, like hold your quads in there. How are you gonna like swing and keep your body in the air and like you know the logic. So in Brazil, when I trained there with some of the guys, and that's another thing too, man. 2006, like I spent a few years in Brazil. Like I met some guys online that they're very good at what they do, and they do like both directions. Brazil is a characteristic, right? They do all that flying stuff both directions. So I met one. His name was Guillaume, and bro, when I saw it, I was like, I'm going down there. Dude, no. You know, 2006, YouTube wasn't really out like that yet. It was MSN at the time, so I was talking to the guy. I was like, yo, man, I had my Logitech camera. I was like, yo, I talked to him for like about 4 or 5 months. Like, yo, man, I'm gonna come down. I'm gonna visit you. I'm gonna train with you for like 4 months. Turned out to be a couple years.
A couple years?
Yeah.
Damn.
Dude, I went there and I was like, this is it. And I was at a favela. And I was like, yeah, man, but it was like the hotbed for hip hop in Brazil.
That's so crazy, dude. You're blowing my mind right now. You're like a B-boy down in Brazil in the favelas.
And, bro,
not even for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it wasn't even for jiu-jitsu.
You're breakdancing.
Yeah, dude, it was for breakdancing, so I can train to audition for Cirque du Soleil. That was my idea, right?
Dude, that's so funny, dude. I didn't even know this existed. There's like people like living on the streets trying to be the best B-boy they could be.
Dude, we were doing that. Yo, it was crazy. So I was with this guy there, man, and bro, this guy was... He still is. He's a smart, intelligent guy, man. Spoken like 5 languages at the time there too. Damn. And I was like, learned it on his own. Took some courses here and there, and just I learned from these guys, man. And just interacting with other people. But this time they're Brazilian, and I was kind of getting after my roots as well. So the last time I did that was 2001 when I went for just Capoeira, just 18-year-old kid, and I spoke Portuguese, but I learned how to read and write there by learning, by going to like magazine stands, and they're big on manga and Japanese culture, so I would do that, but in Portuguese. And interacting with Capoeira, you know, that's how I learned how to read and write in Portuguese. And, but in 2006, 7, and 8, I got to interact with these guys, and it was the first time outside of the Capoeira culture, so I didn't have anything that bounced back to, right? It was just breaking. I was like, wow, so I'm doing it. Bro, it was some of the best years in terms of training that I've had in that regards. Because I met people that were way better than me in that, and I was seeking knowledge. And I was like learning how to be a beginner again. Man, we would go there, wake up 10 in the morning, fasted. We'll go to the little market, get some bread, get like a couple liters of water, and we get those Tang powder shit, and then put them in there. So we'll go from 10 to like 2 in the afternoon. We're just doing
electrolytes from Tang.
Yeah, right. And then bread with like ham and cheese and like some cookies just to keep that up.
A real G, dude.
Yeah, man, dude, I was 25. So
are you like, is your ethnicity like Brazilian?
Yeah, so both my parents are Brazilian.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, dude, you look American.
I know, right? And it doesn't help that my English, like I learned it in Canada, so I don't really have an accent.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I speak French and I speak Spanish fluently as well.
Damn it.
And I think I speak English okay.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, you know. Maybe I'll get a little.
Yeah, I couldn't tell, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I need to be a little bit with some Brazilians, and my accent will change.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no. But no, I spent a lot of time there, and It was cool, man. I got to interact with different fields, like with the jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu was so wild for me when I started because I had to be like, okay, now I'm really a student.
Mm-hmm.
And really the capoeira and the breaking doesn't really translate in the beginning to jiu-jitsu, man. Because I'll be rolling with a way older guy and less shape than I am, but he's in jiu-jitsu shape. And he just nullified me entirely. I can't do anything. At the end of the day, it's like the mental thing and how much they know can pretty much like nullify you. You can get away with athleticism, don't get me wrong. There's some guys, man, they know the game.
Yeah.
And they have just enough to like, you know, hold you down right and take advantage of you. So you got to learn jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Well, you got to get, before you can really start incorporating other skill sets, you got to get the basis first. Yeah. I feel like, so one of my backgrounds was basketball.
Okay.
And I took a lot from basketball and translated into jiu-jitsu, where it was like how to learn, how to get better, moving on my feet. I would never want to start on my knees. And people would get upset at me.
Dude, I tell people all the time, yes, get off your knees.
Yeah, and it's like so people would take offense to it. It's like, why are you starting on your knees? And it's like, when would I ever do that ever? Like, I compete a lot. Never am I starting on my knees. And in real life, I'm never on my knees. And I just felt more natural there in a basketball stance. And then a lot of the faking, like head fakes and stuff like that. So I was able to use like feints and fakes.
That makes sense. Especially with a headquarter position. So you can do that, like that A and all that kind of stuff. That like you make that little A shape and behind their knees and hold it. And like you can work, like in the gi, you can work around the collar and all that kind of stuff. Like with me, like if I'm playing like top game, like I like to like headquarters position a lot and like just crunch my knees in and then use my chest and my head, everything I can, my shoulders, just to like manipulate their hips. And then with the breaking and all that stuff, like I like to keep the pin and not lose it, and then grip fight and then move accordingly to that.
Right.
So I like that. So I like to study like what the kids are doing, some of the modern guys like that are up and coming right now. But I'll still watch like Marcelo, Lucas Lepri, and Bruno Malfacine, all those guys, man. Like those are the three guys I think that I watched the most when I first started. All that training, I was just watching Lucas Lepri, how he passes, and then Marcelo, how he operates. So I was there, and then Bruno, man. Bruno was talk about creative, man. So I got to roll with all of them, right? And dude, when I rolled with Bruno, I felt like I got highlighted in such a cool way because I was watching that flow video of his. I was like, man, this is crazy. This guy's just jumping through my guard and like flying triangle with me, arm barring me. And just the way that he moved, and you don't feel it coming. You know, those guys, you don't feel it coming. And then being in the same room with like Lucas Lepri at the time too, when he came to visit Marcel. And boom, I was like, man, this is unreal, man. Like just the way that they felt.
Yeah.
And then Marcelo too, like I was like, you don't feel the grip coming, you don't feel the sweep coming. And they're just rolling just above your level. And they control you and you can't do nothing about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, this is surreal to me.
Yeah.
You know? And go ahead.
It's so funny about how you're saying you don't see when it's coming. It's like a huge part of jiu-jitsu is like the timing aspect. And it's like, we say that word a lot, timing, but like, what does it even mean really?
Yeah.
I was rolling with a blue belt the other day and I could tell he wanted to go for an ankle lock. Like I could tell he was like, F this guy's guard, I'm gonna just go for his leg. And because I just felt him it's like a slight movement where he like thought about going for it and then he went back. And then I could tell him he was like adjusting his hips.
So you already caught the time.
I'm already like, I know exactly. When he does this, I'm gonna heel hook the F out of him. So sure enough, he drops back and then I just grabbed his toes and heel hooked him and he was like asking me about it and he was like, oh, what did I do wrong? Should I put my foot here or there or wherever? And I was just like, it doesn't really matter where you would. I essentially put your foot there because I knew where you were going. It's like, you let me know that that's what you were going to do. And it was funny. He was just kind of like staring at me like, wait, what?
That little hesitation is like, Yeah, and lately I've been talking to people a lot about like hand fighting and grip fighting. And you're constantly grip fighting, even when you're passing. The way I see it, right? I see like when you're passing, when you're guarding, or you're creating a scramble through grip fighting, and that's going to put you in the guard or whatever that you're going to play, right? But even when you're in a good position to like pin or just about, like you're still hand fighting. You know what I mean? To get a better position. And when you're going to a position for like submission, all that, they're still fighting you. So you're still like fighting for grips to get a better position. I was like, that doesn't stop. That's one thing I tell people a lot. I think that's what makes a difference, you know. And a lot of with the lower belts, like the white and the blue, and even some pro belts, like when you're rolling with them, when they don't know that, and they're like they're trying to get their grips, and you know the pass that they're trying to do, and you know where their hand's gonna go, and you're forcing it to go, and then all of a sudden you're like John Wick, like, oh cool. You switch it automatically, and then that's the thing, the timing, right? They don't know where it's coming from. So I tell them, I was like, man, like grip fight all times, no matter what. And then work your position, dominate your position, and then have your sequences that you go. You know, but all that, right, with jiu-jitsu is like so many things that you have to go. And that's where the creativity, that's where it's one of the infinite arts, because there's so many things that you can do.
Right.
You know, like certain dances like breaking, it's infinite. Like the creativity, so many things you can do out of it, so many different styles, you know. But I think the fundamentals and understanding like the position, it's like years of training, man. But now we got YouTube, we got tutorials and all that, so the trial and error is kind of not there.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the grip fighting I noticed a lot when we roll. So again, I don't do a lot of gi. I do mostly no gi. I try to mix it up in the gi. But I just don't have that confidence in the grips. I know them, but I'm not sure exactly which ones I want to use versus which ones you're using.
Yeah.
And so when I went against you, if I just could sense that I kept like changing my grips, and then you were just like clear, get your grips, clear, get your grips.
Yeah.
And there's a certain point where I'm like, why am I even grip fighting this guy? 'Cause I'm like,
and that's where I was like, now I'm pummeling my legs. I'm like, all right, let me do this.
So I had I think close guard, maybe like half guard, but I was just like grip fighting. And dude, you're probably close to maybe like 60, 70 pounds lighter than me. And dude, dismantled all my grips.
Yeah.
And that like goes to the knowledge piece. It's like, if you practice and you train and you understand what leverages and how to break the grips, you can break most people's grips.
A lot, yeah.
You know, especially if they don't have the same time and the art. Like, dude, I'm strong as shit. I grabbed yours, just pluck. Fucking.
Yeah, and the gi too. Clear. Yeah, the gi it's different game, right? It's the same thing. Like people going in the gi and they're trying to take the back, they slide right off. I'm like, yeah, because now you don't understand like underhooks and clamping and different grips that you can make to get it right. Sometimes they try to knee cut and their chest is like super high, and I'm like, bro, you're giving me that inversion, you're giving me that like foot lock entry, like you give me everything. Like I learned that the hard way. Right. You know, and I also learned like, just because you're on top and all that stuff, and you think you have the position, you have your balance, that the second you move just a little bit, like you're getting your butt's getting bumped over, and then they get underneath, or that underneath grip that you showed me. I'm like, yeah, it happens, man. And then once you don't expect the flexibility, like I didn't expect, bro. When you laced that leg over, I was like, oh, dang, okay, maybe I wasn't low enough. I was like, this dude is actually flexible with it. I was like, dang, all right. And it's crazy, like, it goes to show, like, how you can't underestimate things. Like, you got to stick to principle, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to understand the art form. You can't just jump in. I'm going to just start doing this and that, and let me just learn all this. I'm like, at the end of the day, you got to learn fundamentals of both. If you're doing gi or no gi. I mean, look how Marigali like got in, in a short span. Like, look how he changed up, man. You know what I mean? Like, you put like so many hours into it. But I like seeing it, man. Like how people adjust. Yeah. You know, a lot of the top schools, like especially like the ones that are known for the gi, like Six Blades in Austin, very heavy defense, heavy fundamentals. Yeah, I love defense. I love positioning. I like the submission game, but man, I'm so obsessed with pinning, especially since watching like all the wrestling, the D'Agostini guys wrestle. It just changed my world, man. So sometimes I get in the round and I just try to switch pinning grips, and I stay there for like 6 minutes. It's bad for the guy, but for me, it feels great because I'm like, man, I can pin. I'm just holding them down. I can't do nothing. Like, oh, this is cool. So I'm learning, and it's not cool when I'm in there, but it's cool doing it. And then you kind of like force them to recover, and they give you a frame without you even go for the arm, and then he transitions to a submission. Yeah. Or in a better position. I'm like, oh, so that improved my back take and improved my submission game because of that. and it transfers to the gi and the ogi.
100%.
Yeah, and that's what I like, man. And like a lot of my fundamentals when I came to Texas improved a lot more. I had more time. Not that it wasn't great over there, but like, man, I got to work with a guy like Jeff and his black belts, and bro, their fundamentals are so strong, especially in the gi. Bro, like the grip breaks, they're heavy in judo. So my judo's like non-existent, but the grip breaks and everything, it's interesting to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just the positioning and like the position you showed me today, you know what I mean? Like when they're framing like this, like you switch and then you come over. I'm like, man, like Jeff does that. And he'll get that Kimura and then he'll mount or do everything like that. He did it to me many times. I was like, shit, so it brought that back, which goes to say, right? You're always going to study your fundamentals again. You're always going to go back to that basic, no matter what. You know, and I think the one thing that I guess like an advice I would say to people, right? If they're coming into this art form with kind of like my experience, I would say one thing that someone always told me is like, look, man, you're so dynamic, you're ready and all this. Put it in the back burner, put it in the back of your head, and then just work your fundamentals, man. Just work your basics. And when you get that so sound, the other stuff will just seep in automatically, and then you'll know where to place it.
Yep.
You know? So instead of like, I'm going to try to fuse a lot of dancers and all that stuff, they try to fuse dances. It's fun, right? But stay healthy, like constantly move, and don't neglect movement as you're getting older, I would say.
Yeah.
Before anything, even if it's just a little bit. Look at some of the best guys, like Capoeira, for example. That's, you know, it's a perfect example.
Yeah.
I would say that, and just study the art form. I would say study Jiu-Jitsu. I'll say study Jiu-Jitsu. Someone told me this as well, like 4 years ago. And he's like, yo, man, Steel, man, you'll understand this, but there's layers to this, man. And just study Jiu-Jitsu, man. Study, watch tape, study. And I know this because I studied breaking. Pause, rewind, pause, play, bless you. Just to like understand movements. Now you got tutorials on YouTube, but before it was like that. And it's easy to get caught up, I think, in instructionals, but allow your mind to just like, dude, just dissect what you see. So when the meta changes, like you already know how to change it because you're so used to troubleshooting in your own way instead of someone telling you.
Right.
I mean, that comes from my breaking background, right? Because we try not to copy someone.
Right.
So I try to approach jiu-jitsu that way. It's like, oh, if they're doing it, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to do something else. That's probably why I didn't try beating bowler for a long time. And it would be easier for me, but I just never did it until probably in the last 2 years.
Yeah. Well, I kind of got that breaking vibe when you were telling me how you break down jiu-jitsu moves, like trying the different entries and how many different ways can you get to it. That seems like a dancing thing where you're like, here's a move. How many different ways can I get into this move? Right? So that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it's like patterns. You pick it up, you know, for passing, guarding, whatever, right? But if in the bulk of things, and then if you can subcategorize that in your mind, and you train that, so like you have it, and you have like a toolbox of movements and retention, guard, whatever, and you just, according to like how the person's moving, it just fits the puzzle. And I think it just works that way. It's like, oh, I'm going to do this, and that. That's how I operate with breaking. That's it's like, I'm just going to go in there, I'm going to freestyle movement, but I'll take it out of the toolbox. This movement fits well here because I'm moving this way.
Yeah.
That's how I go with it.
Well, that's how you can, I feel like, you were showing me like a new position at the end of training that you've been playing with. And I swear, dude, I'll be innovating positions all the time. It's like, here's the sequence I learned from this guy who you know, has brought it. It's funny, I showed the other guy this move that this other guy got famous for innovating. And the other guy's like, oh, that's an old catch wrestling move. You know, he's like, yeah, I've seen that before. So it's funny how things come in full circle. But I've seen this one good I trained with this one guy who's good at this, and this guy's good at this. And then I've trained with both of them, weirdly enough. And then here I am putting them together in this weird way. And I know that these two have not done it in the way that I've done it. It's like, and that's what jiu-jitsu is, right? So when you're talking about like Cobrina and Braulio, Estima, like everyone underneath them, we're all like pulling all these different techniques from each other. So, and you're showing me how like, man, the collar sleeve guard is not bad, but I find that I'm losing this leg. So I like modifying it here and doing this. And then here's like this weird position that works for you. I tried it and I was like, I don't know, my butt cheek can handle this
weird,
pressure
right?
on my foot, but it works for you. And I find that to be the same with my deep half guard. I've never seen anyone really do deep half the way that I do it. Dude, I learned deep half from, I just got really good at it as a blue belt, and I really honed it over on the East Coast at a Sarah affiliate. But it was more very traditional. I'd use it to wrestle up. I'd use it to take the back. But then I came over here and got into all no-gi with the leg locks, dude. Now I'm deep half into leg locks.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
consistently,
interesting.
dude.
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone do that. And now it's like a go-to for me of like putting these two random skills. And both took me a long time to develop. Like, dude, it took me a long time to get like really good at deep half, probably to like purple belt. And then when I came here, it took me years of leg locking before I was really even able to combine the two, you know?
Yeah, so the leg locking is, I've been enjoying it, especially with the no-gi. My thing was like, you know, hand fight pass, control, and take the back. Very subtle, right? But I like it, man. And wherever the neck comes up, and like, you know, guillotine or use it to transition, get back, whatever. But then when I started like fishing for leg lock positions and then inversion and then controlling the hips and then continue going, and then when you lose it, you're still going for the top. And then when you lose the top, you go back from up. The whole game starts changing and opens up doors. And then you take a day and you drill, and I'm like, all right, I'm just do it really slow. Let me learn how to get the grip right, like how we were doing it. And then you were showing me, he's like, yeah, well, then you can transition to this. I'm like, you see, that's what I'm saying. It's like, just sit there and just like troubleshoot. And like, oh, this works. And you know your leg lock game and everything. So for me, it was like, let me learn the defense. Let me learn how to pommel. Let me learn how to, what grips are good, what position is bad, the knee line, all that stuff. And I watch it and it's like, man, this is another ballgame, but you feel complete. You know, so I like watching it. It's the same thing like takedowns and stuff. Like, I love the wrestling, but I like an aggressive guard pull into something and into sit-up wrestle, into like takedown. Like, I love that mix. I mean, look at Mika, look at those guys, they're doing it. I think that's why no-gi is really exciting too, but I love the way people are passing in the gi right now. Yeah. Because I guarantee you, man, when they pass in the gi and they get into your side control, it's like you're not getting your guard back.
Side control and mount's way worse in the gi than it is no-gi.
Yeah.
If you get side control on me on no-gi, I'm confident I'm getting you off me. But, you know, this kind of sucks right now, but I promise the second you move, dude, boom, get my knees in.
But in gi, bro,
I was like, man, I might not be able to push
the match is over, bro. It is done, bro.
And so like in the gi or in no gi, I can chill there. I'm really confident that if I'm right here, not a lot that you can do to me. As long as I don't do this and you get a north-south choke, I'm good. I'm chilling. Dude, in the gi, you chill? Bro, I chilled one time. I was like, I'm gonna push him as soon as he moves. Dude, he goes, bro.
Yeah. Like, oh man. Shit. And also with the passing too, right? Like you gotta understand the grip defense for when they're passing. Like to stop the knee cuts, the pump. Because in the gi now, they're not just creeping up in your typical collar or this. They're like gripping right here on the lat. They're gripping right here. They're gripping behind here. Because I love grabbing like right here on the side. Like I don't grab here too much. I'll grab in the armpit and I'll use my elbow to fish in to like block. And then use that with like I told you, when we're studying that one position from the knee cut, sometimes I give too much because I got good balance, so I can kind of get away with it. But like I'm still pinning, but I can elongate my body and then use it to like X pass or whatever and switch sides. But sometimes you can't. Like you need the good grips in the gi. But like, man, when they fish that and they're putting that pressure, especially when they weigh more than you,
I used to know a judo guy, dude. He'd get all kinds. He'd get like weird ones in the back, and then like weird ones like right here. And he can't really hand fight it, and he's like stupid strong from there. And you're like, well, this is kind of gay.
It's like, what am I gonna do here, man? Bro, I would do some pins, man, and then I would show some people, and then they would get me into it, and like I feel like I'm at Worlds, like trying to like stiff arm, trying to escape, and they're pulling me down. I'm like, bro, and then you wear out. You can't do anything about it. I'm like, oh my God, especially when you know how to hip switch to the other side and you don't have enough time to your hips to beat his position. I'm like, I know how to beat this. Tuesday and Thursdays, it's no-gi. So I'm going to go to no-gi. That's why I beat this position. I just don't freaking do it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's Jiu-Jitsu changed my life a lot. A lot of people say that, but it changed a lot of like the growing that I've had. You know, it kind of became one of the major tools. I think it's because it's more recent. But the capoeira, I still train. The breaking, I have fun with it. But I maintain what I can still do. And the jiu-jitsu though is the one I do a lot, and everything just comes together. As long as I'm moving, man. And like, you know how they say live the lifestyle, but like, bro, I live that movement lifestyle. And that's it. Like, every day, man.
I can feel it, dude. I can feel it. Dude, you look young as shit.
Thank you, man.
You don't look like you're 42. And yeah, man, master of photography, master of capoeira, master of breaking. Brown belt, I mean, might as well be a master, right? So
trying to.
I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
I appreciate it, brother.
It's been great. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you guys. Cheers.